from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Red Alert Lab. This is the video number 27. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been continuing securing our Windows 10 based on the recommendations of the Department of Defense and the Defense Information System Agency of the United States. So this is the video number 11. We have been now working for securing Windows 10 for about 10 videos. We have stopped the last time at this recommendation which says that the built-in administrator account must be disabled. So when you install any Windows operating system, you are asked to create an account. Okay, this account will be an administrator. Administrator means that he has full control over the operating system. So in Windows 10 you will be asked to create an account, give it a name, and then log in to the Windows with it, so you can work with the operating system and you have full control with this user. Okay, in Windows 10 there are another hidden account which he is also an administrator and his name is administrator. He has also full control over the operating system, but it is disabled by default in Windows 10. This is the normal process of installation of an operating system, especially the Windows 10. As for Windows Server, when you set up the operating system, you will be asked to give the administrator account. Okay, this is the first account you log in to the Windows with, especially the Windows Server. So you have a user called administrator and you should give it a password. This is for the Windows Server operating system. So the Windows Server operating system, you have an administrator account and you should give it a password, and it is not enabled. It's not disabled. As for the Windows 10, you create an account. This will be an administrator, and you have another account which is disabled, and its name is administrator. Okay. So we do not need to do anything with Windows 10 operating system because the local administrator account is disabled by default. But we need to make sure that the administrator account on the Windows Server should be disabled. So you need to take care to disable the administrator account on your Windows Server operating system. So this can be done using a group policy. So you can push a group policy to disable the administrator account on your servers. And as I said before, it is disabled by default. The administrator account on Windows 10 is disabled by default. So you can make a group policy to disable administrator account on Windows Server, and we can rename it. Actually, another recommendation is to rename the account from administrator to any other thing, so you can make it more difficult to hack, because the hacker should know the username and the password of the account. So he have half the information. He knows that there is an account called administrator on all of the Windows 10 operating systems, Windows 10 or Windows Server, so he knows the username. He will try to hack the password. So by renaming the administrator account on both Windows 10 and Windows Server, we will make it more difficult on the hacker to hack the account. So let's see how we can do this from the group policy. First of all, we need to go to my Power Workstation and see if the local administrator account is disabled or not. So we will right click my PC, okay, and then tell him manage. Okay, and see if the local administrator account is disabled or not. Okay, so if you go there and open local users and groups and then users, so this is a local user, it's not a network user or a domain user. Here we can see that there is a user called Keraof and there is another user called Keraof1. Okay, Keraof, this is the built-in administrator account which is disabled by default in Windows 10. It was not named Keraof, it was administrator, but I have a group policy to change it from administrator to any other name I choose. So this is the hidden local administrator account. As for Keraof1, this is the second administrator account. So you have two accounts. One is named administrator and he has full rights on the operating system. You need to change it from administrator to any other thing, and you are asked when you install Windows 10 to create a second administrator account and name it as you like. So here we have disabled it. It is already disabled, and this is done by a group policy. I will show you all how we can do this, and this is the second local administrator account. So let's see how we can make such policy. So we can go to Windows setting, and then we can go further to Windows setting, and then we can go to security setting, and then we will go to local policies, and then security options, not user assignment, security options, and then here we can see that here this is, if we go a little bit further, here we can go 1 minute further. So if we open local policies, okay, and then we go to security options. Just wait for a moment, I need to show you all a couple of group policies here. So we go to security options. Here we can see that account administrator account status. Here this is the local administrator, okay. You can tell him to disable or enable the account, and then there is another group policy to rename the administrator account from administrator to care of. I have two accounts or two group policies to configure. One to disable the administrator or the default or the built-in local administrator account, and the other one is to rename the built-in local administrator account. Okay, so we need to configure both anyway. So you will open it and tell him to disable the account. Okay, so this is one of the things, because it's a very critical account the hacker can use to take full control over the PC. Okay, so here we can define a name to change the administrator to any other account. So we need to disable the account, and then there is another built-in account called guest. Okay, this is an account that you use to access the operating system, but I think he doesn't have full rights on the system. This is a local user called guest. Okay, it should be disabled because I think it doesn't have a password. This account is known to exist on Windows systems and cannot be deleted. This account is initialized during the installation of the operating system with no password assigned. So this account is initialized or set up during the installation of the operating system and doesn't have any password. So we need to disable this account. Okay, so this is very good info. It is created during the installation of the operating system and no password assigned. So we should disable it. This also can be done using a group policy. So we can go also here and see that there is another group policy to guest account status. We can disable the account, so, and we can rename the account. This is also a good practice to rename the account, first to disable the account and to rename the account. Okay, so we will do this. So we'll disable this account, okay, and then we can rename it. And then there is another group policy. It says that local users or local accounts on a workstation or a server should be restricted for not having blank passwords. So when you create a local user on a machine, you can leave the account without a password, or you can give it a password. Here we are configuring a group policy to enforce that any local account created on any machine should have a password, or it will be prevented from accessing the network. Okay, so local accounts with blank passwords must be restricted to prevent access from the network. So what does he mean? For example, if I am connecting remotely to a machine using a local account, this account should have a password. Okay, so account without a password can allow unauthorized access to a system, as only the user would be required. So policies should prevent account with blank passwords from existing on a system. However, if a local account with a blank password did exist, enabling this setting will prevent network access, limiting account to local console login only. So here is saying that you can, if you enable this policy, you will disable or you prevent accessing the machine remotely using a local account. Okay, so you could only use it from a console, or if you go physically to the machine and log in with it, okay, with this local account. So for example, let's see if you have a local account and it doesn't have a password. Okay, and you need to access with this account. You can access remotely from another machine and this will be prevented, or you can go to the machine physically and access with this account. Anyway, I prefer both to be disabled. So you disable using local accounts to access remotely to a machine, and this account doesn't have password, and also you should make sure that the local accounts on any machine should have a password. So disable completely having local accounts without passwords or with blank password. So let's go and configure this group policy also. So we need to go and configure this group policy. As here you can see that there is very good explanation for every group policy or for every security point that it is discussed in this PDF. So we can go and see if this option is enabled from the group policy, from the registry, and if it's not enabled, we need to go and enable it using a group policy. So we all know that any recommendation have two sides. One, to check if this group policy or this recommendation is already implemented by accessing or revising the registry, and then if it is not there, we can enforce it using a group policy. We can see that limit blank password is 1, so I have this option already enabled. Okay, I have an option not or to limit blank password use. So how we can enforce it using a group policy? We will go to the security options and then restrict access to locally logged in, or let's see first. No, I think it's from network access. So let's see, where is this group policy? It's here. It is accounts limit local accounts. So it's accounts. We need to go up in the A letter, so we can go accounts. Okay, limit local account use of blank password to console only. So console, this means you need to access the workstation physically, not remotely. Okay, if you have a local account with a blank password, okay, then the built-in administrator account must be renamed. I have said this before, and also the guest should be renamed. We have seen these two group policies. Okay, so we have the guest account status and the guest account renamed, and we have the administrator account status and the administrator account renamed. Audit policy using subcategories must be enabled. What he's saying here, saying that maintaining an audit trail of a system activity logs can help identify configuration errors, troubleshooting services disruptions, and analyze compromise that have occurred. Audit logs are necessary to provide a trail of evidence, okay, of system or network compromised. Collecting this data is essential for analyzing the security information of assets, and anyway, this allows administrator to enable more precise auditing capabilities. So this is an option to enable more audit policy categories. So this, I think, it's enabling more audit options to be available for us, or audit options to be recorded. Let's see this group policy also to be or to open this kind of policy. Audit policy using subcategories must be enabled. So this will help us to use more or to audit more records or more events. Okay, so here we can see that this option is not enabled from the registry, so you need to go to local policies, security options, and then force audit policy subcategory setting. Okay, so let's see this from the group policy. Yes, this is the one. Okay, let's see the explanation here. It's saying that anyway, so he's saying a lot of things here, but actually it is an option to enable more audit, okay, or more or to audit more events and audit and record more events. Okay, so this is the explanation. We can all see to know of or to know more about this group policy. So let's continue. And then here he's saying outgoing secure channel traffic must be encrypted or signed. Requests sent on a secure channel are authenticated, and sensitive information such as password is encrypted, but not all information is encrypted. If this policy is enabled, outgoing secure channel traffic will be encrypted and signed. So it is saying that I think the connection to the domain controller, it is secure and authenticated, and the passwords are sent in an encrypted way. So let's see also what this group policy says, but he's saying that this is a group policy to ensure security. So let's see what this is talking about. We will go and see the explanation of this group policy, but he is basically saying that we need to secure our data transferred between, I think, the client and the domain controller, and it should be encrypted and signed. Okay, so let's see. Yes, it's domain member, saying domain member. Let's see this group policy. So it's talking about domain members. This, I think, apply to servers and workstations. So any domain member, client or server, when they communicate with each other, the connections should be secure, and the sending of passwords between the clients or between the client and the server should be encrypted. Let's see the group policy explanation. First, we need to make sure this option is enabled or not from the registry, and then if it's not enabled, we need to enable it using a group policy. So we can go and check the path. Okay, we go and check the path. It's require sign or deal. So we can go to the registry and check it. Okay, parameters, I think we don't have it. Require, yes, sign or seal, it's one. So here it's already enabled. We have this option enabled. Domain member, digitally encrypt or sign secure channel data always. Let's see the description. This is the way we can configure it using a group policy. So let's go and see the group policy. It's domain member. So domain member, this applies to workstations or servers. They are domain members. So let's see the explanation. First of all, he is saying that modifying this setting may affect compatibility with clients, services, and applications. So you should be cautious when you enable this kind of group policy. Anyway, let's see what is the explanation of this group policy. And I think I have already enabled in my domain or on my work environment. So let's go and see. Here you have two options. First, to digitally encrypt secure channel data. So the policy before it says that you should always secure the connections between the clients and the servers, or between clients and clients, and you should encrypt the data or the passwords sent between the clients and the clients, or servers and clients. This is always. As for this is when possible. So we have two situations: always encrypt or encrypt when possible. Okay, so let's see also this group policy. Seal secure channel. So say requests sent, he's saying the same. So these are two policies: one to encrypt when or always encrypt, and the other is encrypt when possible. Okay, so maybe for example, the client doesn't have or will not or will refuse using secure or to encrypt passwords. Seal secure channel, this is also enabled. So you have these two group policies enabled in my domain. So let's see. I think we need to see the explanation of it. Anyway, so this is another thing. Okay, these are all. Let's see here what he's talking about here. He's talking about that this determines whether a domain member attempts to negotiate encryption for all secure channel traffic that it initializes. When a computer joins a domain, a computer account is created. After that, when the system starts, it uses the computer account password to create a secure channel with the domain controller for its domain. So he's saying that when a computer joins the domain, there is two things. You have a user account on the domain, and you have a computer account. This computer account is used to make or to initialize a connection between the client and the domain controller. Okay, and this connection between the client and domain controller, it is secured. Okay, and the passwords are encrypted. So if you are sending your password from your workstation to the domain controller, for example, if you need to access the domain, this password is sent in an encrypted way, so or it is encrypted already. So this is what we mean by domain member digitally encrypt secure channel. So I think this is related to clients, okay, and the domain controller, not client to client or client to server. I think he's especially talking about a client to the domain controller. So here he's saying that if a client is communicating with the domain controller, or a server is communicating with the domain controller, we have two things. Okay, so he's talking about that the connection between a client or a server with the domain controller should be encrypted always or when possible, and so the connection should be secure, and the passwords sent by the client or the server to the domain controller to verify or to authenticate to the domain should be encrypted. Anyway, so we will continue working with this group policies. Here is saying that outgoing secure channel must be encrypted when possible. Anyway, so we have done this already. So all of these group policies are to secure the connection between the client and the domain controller, or between the server and the domain controller. So this is, we have done this already. This is all already enabled, or okay. So here we have 4, I think, or 3, I think, was the same concept. All will secure the connection between the domain, the computer and the domain controller. Computer, this is a server or a workstation. The computer account password must not be prevented from being reset. Here we can see that, as we said before, when your computer joins the domain, okay, you join the domain. After joining the domain, you have two things. You have a username, or you have joined the domain or accessed the domain. First of all, we have joined the domain using your domain admin account, okay, in the Active Directory, and then you create a user to access the domain, okay, a standard user. This user, when he logged into the domain, there is a username and there is a computer account, okay. So computer accounts, we have said it is created when you join the domain, and it is used to secure the connection between the client and the domain controller. So anyway, computer accounts are changed automatically on a regular basis. Disable automatic password change can make the system more vulnerable to malicious access. Frequently, password change can be significant safeguard for your system. A new password for the computer account will be generated every 30 days. So we need to disable, or to make sure that regular or automatic change of computer accounts passwords should not be prevented. Okay, so prevent to being reset. We reset a password. I think he is meaning by reset here to change the password. So he's saying that we should not disable the group policy to change the computer account password. Okay, so let's see if it is already enabled or not, or this policy is enabled or not. So here we can see that domain member disable machine account password change disabled. So we need to disable changing of, or he's saying disable. Okay, so we will not disable password change. So this means that the password will be changed. Okay, the opposite. Okay, so all of these are, if you see the registry, we have all of these enabled, and this is how we can enable it from the group policy if it's not in the registry. The maximum age for the machine account password must be configured to 30 days or less. Okay, so the computer account password should be valid for 30 days or less. Okay, so this is the maximum age. This is like the username or the maximum password age for a user account. So the maximum password age for a user account is 90 days, and the minimum password age for the user account is 1 day at least. As for the computer account, it will be configured at the maximum password age for 30 days or less. Okay, so here he's saying that we need to make the changing of the computer account password to be after 30 days. Okay, so we need to go and see the maximum password age. It is 30 already, so this group policy is already enabled to have a computer account password maximum password age to be 30 days. Okay, so this is acceptable, but it should not be 0. Okay, so here we can see that we can define it here at 30 days. So we have this already. I have this in my registry, so that means that I have already enabled this group policy. Okay, so here we can see that the system must be configured to require a strong session key. A computer connecting to a domain controller will establish a secure channel. Requiring a strong session key enforces 128-bit encryption between systems. So this is a group policy to enable or to secure connection between a domain controller and a computer by encrypting the connection. Okay, encrypting the data sent between the domain controller and the computer. So we should enable this kind of option actually. So this also helps us to secure the connections between the client and the domain controller. So he's saying that we need to do this in a domain environment. Let's see if it is already in the registry. Here we can require a strong key, so it's already enabled. We have it. I have it already enabled on my domain. So let's see how we can enable it using a group policy. So we have a couple of group policies already enabled. So require a strong key. He's saying that maybe affect compatibility with some applications, but anyway, I have it already enabled in my work domain. So do not fear, you can enable it. So here we will enable this, and then the machine inactivity limit must be set to 15 minutes, locking the system with the screensaver. So here is saying that you need to enforce the screensaver, okay, on a machine if the user left his PC without activity for 15 minutes. So saying that machine inactivity limit must be 15 minutes. So if a user left the machine and there is no activity on the machine for 15 minutes, it should be locked, okay, and a screensaver should be displayed. Okay, and if you need to continue work, you need to first of all the screensaver will disappear and you will be asked to provide your username and password to access the system again. Okay, so this is very good, okay, to protect your data. So we do not leave the PC opened and unlocked and vulnerable for any user to use the machine. Okay, so we need to do this also. Should be locked when unattended. Okay, so if you are not attending or you are not physically on the machine for 15 minutes, you need to lock the machine. So also we need to go and do this interactive login machine limit to be 900 seconds, which is equivalent to 15 minutes, I think. 900 seconds. Okay, so here we can enable it to 900 seconds, unless excluding 0 is effectively disabled. So it will disable immediately if the user left the machine for, I think, maybe second or two. It will be disabled anyway, or to be locked, but this is not the case. We need to make it after 900 seconds. Here we can see that we can navigate in the registry from this box. You can just delete and you can navigate through the registry from this box. Okay, so we need to make sure this group policy or this option is enabled from the registry or not. We can go and see. So see current version and policies and then system. Policies, and then we can go to system, and then we need to see the option for, but you can see that inactivity timeout seconds, inactivity timeout seconds. So it is not here, it is not enabled, so we need to enable it to be for 900 seconds, so it's not enabled. Okay, so interactive login, machine inactivity limit set to 900 seconds. I think this is done from the screensaver. We have a group policy to effectively using the screensaver after 900 seconds. So this is done already from the group policy concerning the screensaver. And we have another option to provide the password and username to unlock or to make the screensaver disappear. So here we'll make it for 900. Okay, 900 seconds. Okay, then we need to continue. Here the required legal notice must be configured to display before console login. So you all know that I have a banner, the banner that you have all see, the one saying that welcome to the red alert domain. You need all of your or what say that in our unauthorized access to the machine will be recorded. This I have done it already. So if you can see, we have done it before, but let's see how this can be configured. So you can go to first of all, it is in the registry, so unauthorized access. So you can see I have already enabled it, unauthorized access, and this is the red alert zone. Okay, so how we can configure something like a banner that appears for the user before logging into the machine to inform him that he is in a secure environment. Any unauthorized access will be recorded. This is the text, or this the two things. Here is the text that you will put and the title of the text, okay, or the title of the message. We have done this before. So we have a legal banner, the red alert zone, and the notice is that unauthorized access will be recorded. Here is saying that caching of log-on credentials must be limited. The default Windows configuration caches the last login credentials for users who log in interactively to a system. So what does this say? Says that if there is a user that have an Active Directory account and logs into the machine, the last user accessing the machine, his password will be cached, or it will be saved. This feature provides for some system availability reasons, such as the user machine being disconnected from the network or the domain controller being unavailable. So I have some situations when my domain controller is not available and the user can still access his machine. How this is done? Because his password is saved locally to the machine. So if we have a user that have an Active Directory account and try to access his machine, okay, or a machine joining the domain, his password will be saved. Okay, why is this? Because, for example, if the domain controller is not available or he is disconnected from the network, he can still access his machine. Okay, this is for some system availability reasons. But even though the credential cache is well protected, so even though his saved password is already protected, if a system is hacked, an unauthorized individual may isolate the password to a domain user account using a password cracking program and gain access to the domain. So he's trying to say to us that we need to limit this kind of option. Okay, so he's saying that the default configuration for this is 10 logons to cache. So the last 10 users, their passwords will be saved locally to the machine. Okay, so we need, I think, to decrease this limit. So let's see if we can do this. So we can go and see caching of login credentials. So I think maybe I will stop at this because this is the ending of the video anyway. So we will stop at this one, and this is the video number 12. Okay, we will continue working in the upcoming video with the video number 12. Hope this was informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.